Welcome to another episode of the Philosophy of Chillin. I'm your host, Della the Connect, and as you can see, I'm joined by somebody, and I am truly excited for this conversation. So I'm going to pass it off to them so that they can introduce themselves.
My name is Jordan, or Joy. I also go by a joyous being. I'm one with many different faces. I am a activist. I'm a agriculturalist. I'm a poet. I'm a creative, and I'm also a servant to Mother Nature.
That's not even a poem. That's just how they articulate themselves, and that's amazing. And if you have not caught on to why I have asked this person to come onto this platform, it is because their presence and their aura speaks profoundly as well as how they articulate their understanding. So, because of that, that is why I wanted to go through the topic of aura with you,
Mm,
um, just so that I can dive deeper a little bit more into how you understood your aura to be true and went through the steps to be able to articulate it. So that's the first thing that I wanted to ask you. Um, how did you, what was the journey like to stand and be able to present yourself confidently and to articulate yourself fluidly?
I would say before I learned, I had to unlearn. And as someone that was assigned male at birth and was raised in a cis heteronormative patriarchal society, um, that part of myself, the true part of myself, or the highest version of ourselves, if we want to say our highest selves,
Mhm.
it was locked away. It was locked away under a lot of that conditioning, a lot of homophobia, a lot of queer
Mhm.
phobia, a lot of sexism, a lot of anti-blackness, and just overall anti-meanness.
Mhm.
And over years of my life, I needed to like unlearn it piece by piece
Mhm.
of, okay, I'm much more than a boy in terms of what was assigned to me. I'm much more than a man of what I'm seen as in society because
Mhm.
of these binary ways of being and existing. And
Mhm.
once I got into college, and especially once I left college,
Mhm.
because I went to Morehouse
Mhm.
for 3 years,
For sure.
and
I understand.
that experience was very eye opening. I think that, some people may say, oh, everyone at Morehouse is gay or everyone is confused. Like, why would you want to go to an all male school institution or whatever?
Mhm.
From my perspective, from actually being there for the 3 years, a lot of people are acting in ways that are not of themselves.
Mhm.
And everyone's self is different.
Mhm.
And even looking back now, like I see a lot of, people I went to school with that are now have now transitioned as women or non-men, non-binary folk, or
Mhm.
have transitioned and understood their queerness or their gayness or whatever that may be. And it's so heartwarming to me to see that.
Yeah.
But I say all that to say specifically for myself, going through those institutions and those systems of conditioning, after
The
truly
facts.
like radically accepting who I am and really also accepting who I am not with that when it comes to the
Mhm.
condition that I received, it was a lot of unlearning, a lot of just sitting with myself, a lot of being around women and queer folk.
Mhm.
I would say those are like some of the groups of people that have saved me: Black women, trans and cis, non-binary people, queer people, sapphic folk. All
Mhm.
of those people have had such profound influences on me that allowed me to truly find myself. And then once I found myself, after unlearning and learning all the things that I actually should know, it's like, well, why would I ever keep this me locked away? Why would I ever not share this with the world, especially when it
Mhm.
comes to my poetry and genuinely just speaking out about things that are not right? It's like,
Yeah.
why wouldn't I?
Yeah.
Because I think one of the things that I found is as we find ourselves, when we truly find ourselves, we understand that that self must be shared with others because
Right.
that is an act of healing in and of
Mhm.
itself for self and for others. And it's also an act of revolution.
Yeah.
And once I decentered all of these harmful ideations and identities away from my true identity and was like, well, I'm queer, I'm gender expansive, I don't fit into any of these boxes.
Mhm.
And you could feel bad about that, but that is, their ego, their conditioning, kind of reacting to that. So I think I've, after that, been able to turn myself into a vessel and a conduit of healing for
Mhm.
others just by being in my presence or just hearing what I have to say, because we all need it. I know I needed it at one point in my life, at one point in
Mhm.
my journey. So why would I ever not give other people that opportunity of experience?
No, exactly. Oh, I love that. There's so many ways in which I wanna go into that because there's not just intentionality, but there's a level of commitment when
Mm,
you are able to not just bring your consciousness, but bring your subconscious awareness as elevated to what you know to be true as well too.
mhm,
And a lot of the times, like you were saying, there are conditioned systems, environments in place so that those aspects of yourself don't get a chance to show you or vocalize where they really want you, and the spaces that they really want you to be in so that you can understand that evolution, or not evolution, but that aspect of your identity and spirit outside of just the surface level and the 3D world that was given.
mhm.
And I wanted to ask you, how were you able to create that space so that you could listen?
That's a good question.
Oh, thank you.
I would say ever since I was younger, I have always listened to myself.
Mm,
But that self that I was listening to, was that always the right self to be listening to? No.
that's
So I
real.
think that ever since I was young, and I was an only child for 8 years, so I spent a lot of time alone.
Yeah,
Um, and even going into quarantine, spending that time alone and being able to listen to self, and self always talks, even
yeah.
on the subconscious level, to your point. And I had a lot of subconscious things that were coming to my conscious surface. And, I was running away from them for a time, whether that was same sex attraction, whether that was me identifying that what I'm in, whatever system that I might be in, or the environment that I'm in is not right for me, but not necessarily having the words for it.
Mhm,
Um, and I think as I learn more and experience more in life, my subconscious self couldn't help but contribute to my conscious self in that sense, where it's like I have no choice but to live in alignment with myself, because it's very obviously clear that
mhm,
I'm living outside of alignment if I'm doing something outside of that alignment. But
mhm,
I think part of it is that I was blessed and I was privileged enough to have that time to be alone throughout a good part of my early life, but
mhm,
also in my later years, especially during COVID, after my grandmother passing away, and just like being by myself. And
mhm.
I think that's a lot of things, a lot of what people run away from. They run away from being by themselves. But
Yeah,
from being by myself, I was like, I love myself. I
yeah,
love being around myself. I love my own energy. And even in the partnership that I currently have, like, I love still being by myself. I
yeah.
love being in my own energy. And I think that's very important. But when I did learn the truly like unmasking aspects of things, especially in like the neurodivergent realm, I learned that you can be by yourself with someone else and
Mhm.
still be in your own energy, if that kind of makes sense.
No,
Even if
that's
that's like
real.
being nonverbal and maybe not
Mhm.
necessarily talking to them, you're still around other energies, but it's kind of like you all have your own field of
Yeah.
influence, but you're kind of like right just out of their field of influence, but you're still coexisting. I think
Mhm,
that's another thing that I've learned recently, especially within this relationship, that's been very beautiful. Just being able to be by yourself with someone else, but
mhm,
still be kind of like by yourself, because their energy is so um, not even necessarily nurturing, but safe to be
mhm,
around. That is like, oh, I love being by myself around you.
mhm.
But yeah, to answer your question, I would just say really like being by myself was one of the like most helpful things, because I think a lot of times in our society we're told we need to be with someone. We need to find
Mhm.
someone to speak, especially for people that
Community,
are
community, community.
right. And even on the romantic side of things, like the mononormativity, oh, we're
Yeah.
supposed to be with this one partner. You're supposed to marry. You're supposed to have children. It's like, well, what about me? What about what I want to do with my life? What about
Mhm,
the lack of children that I want to have, or the
mhm,
lack of nuclear household I want to have?
mhm.
And I think we have so many influences that tell us to go into that, and we're so afraid to break the norm. But it's like fuck the norm. It's like it is going to kill us if we
Yeah.
try to live up to something that we were never meant to be in the first place.
Ooh, that was
Excuse me.
good. Yo, that was good. Nah, take that one with you. Hey, talking about I love that.
Excuse me.
Of course, of course. And honestly, like, that's something that is true not just for myself, but I've seen it in others as well.
Mhm.
And I also have to catch myself when I do get a little antsy and I'm like, okay, yes, I need to be by myself and I need to digest all of these things, but life is happening. I need to be here. I need to be there. I need to, shoot, school in general. Like, if you're not intentional about it, you could literally be around people from sun up to sundown and not have or even be aware of, yeah, I'm existing in these spaces, but
Mhm.
no, I'm not here with me. I'm
Right.
just facilitating and I'm just moving and going with emotions and trying to appease and trying to be here to make sure that I'm adhering to this norm or this expectation that's been passed down,
Mhm.
not from this person, but from somebody that put pressure on them as well too, to exude actions in this particular structure and framework. And honestly, like it's it's sometimes frustrating
I agree.
because when you aim to progress, the conversations with the ones around you that are supposed to be that form of community
Mhm.
are not able to
Nourish you.
not yeah, like nourish you, and then they don't see past those limitations.
Mm.
And it's like, bro, it's right in front of you, but you can't see it and I can. Now I have to navigate how to meet you where you
You're
are.
at yeah.
So how has that been like for you?
That is probably, like, I would say the best question you've asked so far because that hits very home for me and, like, my spirit and what my one of my many purposes is in this life.
Mhm.
Um, recently I had a couple trips actually recently, psilocybin trips, and I was, talking with source, I was talking with Mother Nature, and I realized actually most recently that I one of my purposes is to be the messenger. And one thing I learned
That's
about being the
real.
messenger is that, to your point, you have to meet people where they're at. But because of the fact that I am so intersectionally conscious, it's so hard to put down my frequency for other
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
But then I also realized I was never supposed to do that in the first place. Whoever is meant to digest it, is meant to digest it. But it's like one of those things where, like, meeting people where they're at, especially if they're Black, especially if they're queer. And I say queer in
Mhm.
sexuality, maybe not in politics, because there's a difference,
There is a difference.
because there's some folks I walk around here may say they're queer, especially white folk, where it's like, you're not politically queer. But that's a whole nother
That's real.
conversation. But to your point, that's been one of the hardest things that I've needed to solve for myself recently, meeting people where they're at, because I see, even in the city, and you see it, how much evil there is on the political level, on the local level, on the um, capitalist capitulating level when you have these Black people that are like, oh, Black excellence, but it's really just Black capitalism.
Mhm.
Um, I want to say fuck Andre Dickens, fuck Tyler Perry, Ti, and all the other Black capitalists or people that lie in our faces. And I say that to say that it really hits home for me because
Mhm.
those people are upholding this system and then they're feeding the people below them saying, oh, this is how you should be. And then we wonder why Atlanta's mainstream culture is the way that it is right now. With
Mhm.
that being said, I see the spiritual damage that inflicts on the individual and the nurturing nature within me is like, oh, like, let's heal these people. Let's help them like get where they need to be. But it's like also understanding, Jordan, like, that is where they need to be right now. And until they decide and they choose to wake up to it,
Mhm.
all I can do is give them the tools. That's part of the reason why I still do poetry now, because I am the messenger. I am trying to give people the message to their freedom. If they choose to take it, cool, I would love that. But it's also the emotional attachment of if they don't. And I'm also a Libra. I'm a very big air sign. So I'm very
That's
easy to detach
real.
from people. But when it comes to
Yeah.
like universal collective
You like a switch, man.
right. When it comes to like liberation and like helping people get there, it means so much to me because it's something that transcends my own being. It transcends the life that I'm living now and even the past
Mhm.
lives that I had. Because like I said, I am a servant of Mother Nature. So when you're trying to help people understand, oh, we need to steward the planet. We need to go back to our indigenous ways. We need to actually promote matriarchy and egalitarian societies.
Yeah.
And especially as a former Black man, when you when you try to talk to Black men that are stuck in that cis heteronormative, patriarchal, capitalist capitulating type of mindset. And I would really call it a spiritual mindset because it really goes all back to the spirit. It really does. Um, I've had to understand, like, okay, they're just not there yet. This isn't where they're supposed to be in their journey. And a lot of people that I've met will be like, oh, um, Libra men are so bad. Like the experiences that we have with Libra men. And I was like, the problem is because they are a man. That's the problem, is because they're still identifying as a man and they're still allowing that dichotomy binary of how they should exist in this world control them. And it does it at so many more levels. And like once I realized that, I was like, oh, that makes sense why these people are having bad experiences with Libra men, because they're men. You don't need to be a man in this society. You don't need
Dang.
to.
That
At least a
might go.
cisgender man.
I was just about to, that.
No,
That might go
if you're
over
a
your
T man,
head.
if you're a T man, you know I love my T man. But if you're like a cisgender man, especially if you're a cisgender Black man in this society, why do you need to be?
Ooh.
You know?
Hey, bro, if you listening to this, look, you gotta take these conversations in dosage because this is progress happening in real time. And I know, like, even when you talk about like spiritual awakening, because all of that to me is intertwined, there's a level of mental awareness to do research, to ask questions, and be conscious of how you're entering into those conversations. Because, no, that's valid. I understood everything you just said.
Yeah.
But I know for a fact that somebody else that is not necessarily fully aware of the context in which you're applying in your statements, they'll be like, what the fuck you talking about? You a man, you grew up as a man.
Right. And what they're saying in that statement, you know, they're projecting, you know, the conditioning that they've underwent. Right. Because a lot of people believe, oh, we're born men or we're born women. It's like, no, we're born as who we are. We're assigned male and we're assigned female at birth, or we're assigned boy and girl when we're in the womb and when we come out of the womb. But that doesn't mean that's our destiny. That's the destiny society picked for us. And especially as Black folks, Papa Duke actually told me this, or was the first person I heard this. Queerness is next to godliness. And like when you understand that, you realize that like when you strip the identities that society has given you and create the ones that you want for yourself, there is a level of spiritual power in that alone. And to your point of aura, and that's not to get into like an identity politic type of thing, because sometimes then people are like, oh, well, this person's these social identities, that must mean they're good. And it's like, whoa, 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 whoa. I think we have a non-binary person running Democrat for one of the positions here in Georgia or Atlanta. And I'm like, just because they have the social identities that may match with you does not mean that they're for you.
Yeah.
And I think when we combine it with politics or someone running with a position, that's when it starts to get diluted.
Yeah.
But I do think that when we shed these identities that society has given us and allow ourselves to be who we always were, and not necessarily our highest selves, but our natural selves, which is our highest self at the end. I think sometimes people think of it in like a vertical sense, like we need to be our highest self. But I think of it more in a horizontal sense of like, we may be right here in this life. We've had these experiences in our past life or in our past lives. And in order to get where we need to go forward or towards the end, it's going back to how we always were. I think part of that is also connecting with nature, because she speaks to us. She really does. But a lot of time we don't listen. Exactly.
Boy, stop it.
Like we don't listen. And it's like she talks to us each and every day. She mourns. She has joy that she expresses as well too. And a lot of times we don't listen and we wonder why, you know, we're so disconnected with nature. We're trying to listen at a frequency that we weren't meant to listen at in the first place. And I think part of that is like really like getting in tune with our spiritual frequency as it relates to nature and genuinely not trying to listen for anything else besides what you're supposed to hear. I think a lot of times we try to listen for things that we think we want to hear or that we were told we should hear for, but like just be, just exist, and she will speak.
Yeah, facts every time without fail. And if you didn't see it the first time, trust and believe another sign is coming right after that to reconfirm what you thought you saw or thought you heard.
Yeah.
just to make it sure and clear that this is exactly what the fuck it is that I said.
Do you want to hear a story? A quick story?
I would
So
love it.
I've been afraid of bees and wasps as long as I can remember.
Mhm.
When I was younger, I got stuck in a tree. A wasp landed on me
Mhm.
and it didn't sting me. It was like, just there for like quite a little bit of time and it didn't sting me. And
Mhm.
this is all going to come back. Just 3 days ago, I got stung by a wasp.
Mhm.
And this was the first time I ever got stung by a wasp. I was going into a little library, like one of those little free libraries, and I flipped the book. Oh, 'cause I was trying to look to find books for community, and the
Mhm.
bee just came right in my middle finger. And it's so interesting. I was thinking back to the moment where the wasp first landed on me, and I think the reason why it didn't sting me is because I was with the tree. I was part
Mhm.
of the tree in that moment. I was
That's
stuck in the
real.
tree, but I was just the tree in that moment, and I was nothing else but that tree. And then I think back, I'm like, well, why was I afraid of bees for this long? It's because I presupposed a threat that they were gonna have on me, when in
Mhm.
reality, it was me being afraid of just being around them. And then I think
Mhm.
back to when I got stung by that bee when I was going through that little library. It was actually it was how quick we die, how quick that we can like die in this life. And it was so surprising. It like literally just came out of nowhere out of that little library and stung me. I was like, wow, I needed that. I really, really needed that to remind me of how quick this life transitioning in and out of this life is, but
Mhm.
also how reminding me to just exist and to just be as well too. And I think that in this, I say this all to say that when it comes to the stewards of Mother Nature, I think bees are one of the most beautiful stewards of Mother Nature, just pollinating the environment and things
Mhm.
of that nature. And even with the data centers that are here in Atlanta, and we see reduced, bees and things that contribute to our ecosystem, it
So
reminded me like,
managed so miss poorly.
yeah. And it just reminds me like, wow, we just need to like be. As like funny as that is, be. But
Yeah. No, I get it. And stuff like, man, let me not go off on a tangent.
but you can. Hey.
I mean, honest and truthfully, it all just comes down to the individuals that are the current. ma- I don't want to say leaders because they're all still developing.
I think leaders is a good word though, because I think the problem, and this actually goes into another
Mhm.
tangent. When it comes to leaders, we have a lot of Western and colonial um, whitewashing
Oh
of what that
yeah.
means.
Oh
And I think
yeah.
a lot of times when people think of leader, they mean, oh, I lead you. And it's no, we lead each other. Leading is always meant to be in a equitably reciprocal partnership,
Exactly. That's why I was hesitant on the word because
because there's so much conditioning of the word and dilution, diluting of
it
it
exactly.
and
And
distortion.
it is crazy because that's what it's supposed to represent. However, even now there are decisions being made that completely is adjacent 180 from that representation and execution.
I agree. And I think a lot of times people say leaders, but what they really mean to say is managers or micromanagers
Mhm.
or um, things that just aren't leading in the truly like egalitarian sense. And like also understanding like as a leader, you're going to make mistakes,
Yeah.
but also holding yourself accountable and being open to critique. And I feel like within this whole interview, I, hope for anyone that's listening, understand that my existence is to counter everything white, everything colonial, everything imperialistic. And a lot of the issues that we have within us spiritually and internally is that internalized whiteness to a greater or lesser degree, whether that's literally like internalized white supremacy or
Mhm.
internalized patriarchy or
Mhm.
internalized cis heteronormativity or internalized distortion of what the word leader means. Another good word, power.
Mhm.
People misunderstand power so much in this society.
That's crazy you
And
just said that because that was the second topic that I was going to talk to you about, but I was like, that could fall underneath the umbrella.
as soon as you said leader, that's what it made me think of, like
Yeah.
power, because that's another word that people get wrong. There was this post that someone had put out on the internet, on Instagram, I want to say, when they were like, oh, you should vote. And it was something of a quote of, ignorance of the state's power is at your own peril. And I
Mm,
commented under that post and I was like,
interesting.
there's nothing powerful about this state. These weapons of mass destruction and these different creative tools they have to destroy human flesh, nothing about that is powerful, especially in the face of someone like myself that is willing to not only live, but to die for my own freedom and for other
Mhm.
people's collective liberation. There's
Mhm.
nothing powerful about that. The power that we have is in our community, is in our communal power, in our ways and methods of helping each other, in our ways and methods of stewarding this land and healing
Yeah.
ourselves and the community at large in the process. And that's one of the other things that I think that we've missed in our colonization, if you
Mhm.
will. Because I think another thing that we also need to remember, every act that we make that is good, that is healing, that is powerful in the true sense, it's antithetical to these systems and these
Mhm.
ways of thought that we've been conditioned into to make us think, oh, we need to get this power, we need to get this influence, we need to get this, dead tree money or capital, if you will. And it's like, no, the power is within us,
Yeah.
internally. And once we realize that, then to your point of meeting people where they're at, we help other people tap into their power. And I can say, like, for myself, like in my partnership with her, I think that's been one of the most rewarding things, helping
Mhm.
her see her own power and us raising our spiritual power together in that way.
Mhm.
But yeah.
No, that was good. That was good. And honestly and truthfully, I want to go down so many different avenues. Okay. Um, there's a couple points that I wanted to hit on really quickly
Hmm.
from the things that you've said already. The first thing is T.I., Andre Dickens, and Tyler Perry. One day, if it's aligned, we gonna talk and conversate. And I cannot wait.
But then I also ask myself, what is there to talk about?
Oh,
Because
oh, I want to see the soul.
they are like genuinely like doing harm, but it's like they try to act like they're our friends. And that's my biggest
Mm-hmm.
problem with how, especially in Georgia, I've been living here for 5 years. I know
Mm-hmm.
that you went to Howard, if I'm not
Mm-hmm.
mistaken. So I'm from DC,
Oh,
actually,
for
originally. So I
sure.
was like,
Hey,
oh my
to
God, Chocolate City, Mama. You know, um, but a lot of the Democrats, and they've done this historically.
Mm-hmm.
There was a time where Democrats and Republicans were flipped, where
Yep.
Democrats were Republicans and things of that nature. And they're two sides
Mm-hmm.
of the same coin, and they always have been.
Yep. Yep.
The
Yep.
problem I have with the Democrats, especially the black ones, is that they act like they're our friend, but they're stabbing us in the back.
Oh, it
And
get a
the
little
one
tricky
thing I
and
could give to
complicated in there.
Republicans is at least you're loud and proud about being against us, being against blackness, being against queerness, being against transness. Cool. We know who we're dealing with. But then it's like
Mm-hmm.
you have these people that are like, oh, I just love us. I just love black people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you never did.
Yeah, I
And
feel you.
I think that that's something that we as a people are still learning because
Mm-hmm.
we're not a monolith. Black is not a monolith
At
at
all.
all, and there's so many different ways and methods and systems that we have internalized and the lack
Mm-hmm.
thereof, and that allows that to be. And like I could blame the individual all I want, but it's the system at the end of the day
Yeah.
that is the problem, and that needs to be dismantled. But not only does that system need to be destroyed, and those systems of thought need to be destroyed, but new ones need to replace them and actually give us what we need.
Yeah. And that's a whole nother conversation because
Yeah.
then it becomes the conversation of what we're having now, but in a more large scale with
Hmm.
people that have already existed within that system previously, to where, again, they have to be willing to take that step. Otherwise, it's kind of what we're experiencing now of this hole that's trying to
Yes.
squeeze so much out of it because they feel like it's everything is moving too radically and da 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 da. And we need to scrunch it back as much as possible and apply pressure to what we know to be true. And you're killing the very thing that was made to help you.
I agree. And you touched on something very important, will. I don't know if that was one of your topics of discussion, but will is a
Yeah, yeah.
very important piece in that. Like you said, people who are willing. And I think that one thing a lot of us don't come to terms with, especially like capitulating towards capitalism, is how
Mm,
much capitalism robs us of our will, robs
mhm,
us of our capacity to even have will. And that's not an excuse. That's the explanation.
yeah.
I would love to tell, that single mom of three or that single father of four or that family that's just struggling together, just quit your job tomorrow. Like just go against capitalism in all of its forms. Some people just don't have the capacity
Yeah.
because of their individual predicament. And
Responsibilities. Yeah,
indeed,
it'd be
but
crazy.
I've still seen those people that have children go to community organizing events where the child
Mhm.
care was included. So then I ask other people, well, what's your excuse? And there is none. They're just not willing. And that's the part
Mhm.
that I've
That's
been
real.
reminding myself of recently in my higher level of discernment is
Mhm.
discerning who has the will to change. Not even to quote Bell Hooks's book, but I think that all men,
Jesus
if
Christ.
you're listening to this, if you're a black man or you identify as black man, read The Will to Change, please, because I think that it touches on the fact that men within cis heteronormative white supremacist capitalist patriarchy are victims to those same systems that they perpetuate.
Yeah.
And I think the
Tuh.
more that we
Most definitely.
recognize that, the more that we can start the communal healing process with those that are willing.
Mhm. Oh, look, man. So, as y'all know, I invite people onto this platform for a reason. And this is a great example of that very entity and not necessarily stipulation, but just connection in general. And I know we can literally sit here and keep going, but I have to stay focused in highlighting your poetry and the
Mm,
things that you do creatively as well too, because that's how, at least what I would like to understand further, is the vessel in which you are conveying this intellect. So
mm,
when it comes to your artistry in general, because I probably know for sure it's not just poetry, but when it comes to translating all of this understanding within your creative vessel and within the things that the talents that you have been given, how is it for you to, I guess, put pen to paper?
mm. So, fun fact, or fun facts about me, I guess, for the audience and for yourself.
Mhm.
I started writing poetry in sixth grade, and it was a part of this program. I went to Kip D. Siebel Academy in DC off Fifth
Mhm.
and P Street, and
Okay.
I
Oh,
used to live right down the street from Howard. Like I used to
bro, I
pass that
don't
school
walk
probably
past
over
that
like
shit
200 times at least.
for
So I lived right off of
sure.
Georgia Avenue,
Hell
up
yeah.
there by the other part of Howard, because there's so
Mhm.
many different entrances and
Yeah.
it's all throughout the city. But I was writing poetry in sixth grade, and it saved me at the time that I
Mhm.
needed it, especially when I was getting bullied for the queerness that I didn't know that I had within
Mhm.
my vessel. Stopped, started writing again in 12th grade
Mhm.
after my grandmother passed
That's
away.
real fun.
It helped me process that pain. And then I stopped again, started writing in 10th grade through INGAP, which is a poetry community organization, a student led group, Next Great American Poet in the AUC. And
Mhm.
then I stopped again. And then I started writing in December of last year.
Mhm.
And one thing I do want to tell people is that, I was writing poetry from sixth grade up until December of 2025. And December of 2025, that's when I started writing liberation poetry.
Mm.
And I'm not going to sit up here and act like the poetry that I didn't do before then wasn't liberating for me for the
Mhm.
times that it needed to be. But especially with the job that I was working, there was this camera that used to sit in front of like my computer, because I was working at the front desk
Mhm.
at this like stretch studio. The camera was there, and it created this effect of a panopticon. Are you
Mm.
familiar with the panopticon?
Mm-mm.
So it is this like theory on crime and punishment. I forget who the person who created it. We don't even need to give them credit because they're a white man.
That's real.
But there's this panopticon where it's a watchtower in a prison. And the tower is in the middle of this prison. The prison's on
Uh-huh.
the outside of it. And this
Yeah.
watchtower has a light that shines around the whole thing.
Yeah, I've seen
And
visuals.
it pretty much creates an illusion that you're being watched to deter you from doing crimes as the prisoner, because there's not always
Oh.
someone that's in that watchtower.
So I knew the concept. I just didn't know the terminology.
Hmm.
Wow. Okay, go
And
ahead.
that is how we as a society have been headed
Mhm.
towards, excuse me, ever since like 2000, probably even before that, with this
Oh, most
illusion of
definitely
being
before
watched at
that.
all times to deter crimes. And I was using Jill Scott's Watching Me as the like
Mhm.
bones of my piece.
Yeah.
And I titled the piece Panopticon because I was like, well, the Panopticon, what did I say? The Panopticon creates the illusion of being watched at all times to deter crimes. The camera, previously the manager, before that, the overseer, has the same effect on me. And one thing I wanted to highlight towards that entire piece and just how I was feeling mentally and spiritually at the time, all of the subconscious was
Mhm.
coming to the surface all at
Mhm.
once. I was reading so
The man
many,
said, "I'm overwhelmed."
right. I read like over 21 books last year, and
Yeah,
a
that's
lot of
real.
them were like deconstruction. A lot of them were radical feminist theory. A lot of them were
Mhm.
really attacking these systems at a like framework level.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck, like I need community. I need to get out of this job. I need to like go somewhere where I can share my truth. And that was the start of me genuinely doing liberation poetry.
Mhm.
And for me, once I really started like living through that, or rather allowing that to live through me, I never run out of things to write. Some people
That's
get like what's called
real.
writer's block, but I think it's like a spiritual blockage. Because
Yeah.
why would you ever within your vessel that is the culmination of so many other things before you and so many other things after you, why would that ever stop? What in you is making that block happen? Because
Mhm.
people talk about writer's block. Ever since I've been writing, I've never had writer's block because the
Mhm.
writing comes from something outside of me.
Yeah.
And I think that
Exactly.
sometimes we try to find inspiration. It's like there's inspiration all around us. Do you
Yeah.
see what we're living in right now? Like
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
this
Yeah.
matrix simulation that we're living in. And so I always have, um,
If you choose to pay attention.
indeed. And sometimes I've also recognized I don't always need to write. Sometimes I just need to experience that thing.
Mhm.
And when it comes to writing, writing is really alchemy. That's another term for it, or creativity. It's alchemy
Mhm.
is really what it is. So when I get my little cauldron together and I get my little ingredients, my pen and paper, it's like I can alchemize whatever I experience. I don't have to, but I have really honed in on a level of intentionality when it comes to my writing,
Mhm.
to where I'm not just writing and memorizing about anything. No, this has a purpose. This is going to do something. This is going to speak to someone at
Mhm.
the very least. And so I think that's what I have been able to change for myself within my creativity
Mhm.
that has been able to get me to platforms like this,
Mhm.
and just like I was talking with Enchantress about earlier, like that abundance, like truly like a level of abundance that is otherworldly
Mhm.
because people see it in you,
Yeah.
not on you.
Yeah,
Um,
no, exactly. That's why I was like, Aura, exact. Yes, we need to go deeper into that because
mhm,
it exudes out of you. Like when I saw you perform for the first time, you entered into a room, and me being conscious of who I surround myself with
mhm,
and who I get surrounded by, all have very powerful spirits.
mhm,
The most powerful spirits to me in the room as far as like performances, not just in general, because it was more powerful spirits in there. But as far as like performance wise, you and I think it was I want to say Sunshine, but I know that's not right.
yes, I know you're talking about somebody,
Yes,
somebody.
yes, Sunbody. Um,
You need to
I
get them
could
on here too.
I want to
Somebody,
so
I've been
bad.
trying to tell people about somebody, and I hope you hear this too. Somebody, like they are so amazing.
Yeah.
Like their piece, I know which piece you're talking about, the piece about liberation, what
Mhm.
liberation would look like. I told them, I was like, those words are what I was thinking. Like you
Mhm.
read my mind. But
Yeah.
to your point, but I just needed to shout them out because they
Oh,
are
please
such an
do.
amazing individual. I love them so much.
Yeah, I think I tried to send them an email, but I don't think they had it attached to their profile.
I'll
So I
get
was
them.
like,
I'll
okay,
get them on here.
excellent.
Sometimes it's hard to get in contact with them,
Yeah.
but it. I think yeah, they're amazing. We're working on getting them back outside, type of
Okay.
thing.
Hey,
But
take your time. Whenever time aligns, I'm here for it. But I had mentioned that because you two were the immediate entities that were connected in our environment.
mm,
And I just thought that to be very interesting because that wasn't on purpose. that was just you. You ain't even know me. You was just vibing with the person
Right.
that was over
Was that the
there.
day I featured?
Yeah.
That was my feature day. Oh, so you got to hear my other pieces too. I'm glad that you got to see me feature, and that was your first time experiencing me
Mm-hmm.
because, and you heard the pieces.
Yeah.
There's one in particular that's like on my brain right now that I'm trying to like find the lines for. But when it comes to memorizing poetry pieces, when you memorize enough, it just becomes like a jumbled up little mess in your head,
Oh
kind of,
yeah,
sort of.
for sure.
But I think it was, I transcend all your gender, transness the source of splendor. Like a rib, the time is tender. Being white, it'll hinder. I think that's what I was looking for. Internalizing whiteness, the worst social disease, must combat it where we go from India to Belize. Whether you be sedentary or nomadic, heal your spirit and somatic. These bars somersault, it's on you if they landed. If they ask you who did it, fuck it. We all planned it. To destroy the system, gotta be a little bit underhanded. We won't stop until we free Haiti, the Palestine, Cuba, the Congo, Sudan, Iran. From the east to Turtle Island. Capitalist companies not buying. Big corp not replying. Live your truth, stop lying. I'm a natural with alliteration lyrics. To the most highs and the spirits. I transcend all your ninja. Transness the source of splendor. Like a rib, the time is tender. Being white, it'll hinder. The reason I wanted to say that is
Nasty
because I
work.
genuinely speak truth when I do my poetry. Like I have even told her, or like other people that hear it, like, I'm not doing poetry to make money. I'm not doing poetry for fame. I'm doing poetry because, like I told you, I am a servant on Mother Earth. I'm
Mm-hmm.
just doing what she asked. And then some. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and like you said, with the thing that we were talking about before, out of context, people might not really understand it.
Mm-hmm.
But it needs to be said. It needs
Mm-hmm.
to be said. It needs to truly be like felt, like even out of our body, like spiritually. That's what I've really been working on, is communicating with people spiritually during my poetry. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
glad that that reached you.
Oh yeah. Like even when you started going into it now, I felt chills going down my
Mm.
body because I knew the validity and the power behind what you were saying. And honest and truthfully, even for myself, because I know I still have some spiritual blockages just because I'm aware of how powerful that aura can be if it's completely released.
And as we all do,
You know what I'm
we're
saying?
all a work in progress. That's one thing that I hope people know about me, but also know about themselves. We are not perfect.
Yeah.
So to your point, is like, as do I. You know.
And I recognize that because even before and after you got done with your feature, it wasn't a shift of um resolution.
Mhm.
It was just a shift in how you were applying, I guess, your intentionality.
Mm.
Because when you stepped onto that stage and you held that microphone, it was like, that ain't the same Jordan that was just sitting right next to us. That was just a keying and observing type shit. Nah, that's a whole nother aura that's coming out right now. A whole nother level of, I guess, not just confidence, but awareness of knowing that, yeah, I have to say this. And the ways in which I'm having to communicate it, you gonna hear it regardless, whether you like it or not. And you can take from it as you will. So I guess my next question is, how did or how was the process of being able to exude that with not just confidence, but assurance?
Mm. I To answer that, I would say just making a choice.
Mm.
And this goes full circle because my performing name and one of the names I go by is a joyous being.
Mhm.
Because I am a joyous being. And it's not because I'm happy all the time. No, I'm not happy all the time. I hope
Yeah.
more people like allow
Happiness
themselves
is
to not.
temporary.
Indeed. Joy is a state of mind. And
Mhm.
I wouldn't even just say like a mental state of mind, but it's a spiritual state of being.
Yeah.
And we can choose joy in our lives, and we can choose to omit joy towards others. And that's one thing that I want to, and I continue to want when I perform, for people to feel, is to
Mhm.
feel joy. And I even told them within my piece, what did I say? I've been barefoot ever since I was cisgender boy, connected to the earth my vessel might have seen. There was a time where my being chose everything but joy. And that's
Mhm.
true. There
That's
was a time
real.
where my being chose joy. And to what we were talking about earlier, that's when I was trying to be all these things that I was not. And once
Mhm.
I actually accepted who I always was, that's when the joy started to be produced in a way that was infinite because it was
Mm.
connected with source. Just like I've been saying, queerness is next to
Yes.
godliness. So when we accept that at the spiritual level and we genuinely just like allow our spirit, our natural spirit, our highest self to
Mhm.
connect with
Mm.
source, and our highest self is source,
Mhm.
period. It's
Facts.
just a individual carving of source because source is infinite. Source is in all things. It's in the birds, the bees, the trees,
Mhm.
everything. When we really understand that, I think that's when we get to have that confidence and have that assurance because every time that I perform, it's not for me. That's one
Mhm.
thing that gives me that assurance is that I'm able to reach another person or people. Um, and it allows me to be able to perform at the level of confidence, knowing, okay, this is not about me. This is about reaching someone else in this crowd, at least
Mhm.
one other person, whether it's they resonate with what I said or they felt the same experiences or I helped wake them up.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I realized about my poetry. It is the message. That is part of me being the message. You're sharing that message with other people. If they
Mhm.
can digest it, excellent. If you get indigestion, that's not my fault.
Mhm.
You just weren't ready to digest it yet.
Yeah. Ooh, that's real. Ah, ha, 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 ha. Oh my goodness. We can literally be here all day. That's
We
what I'm
really can.
saying. Like, bro, it's it's literally one tunnel into another, and it's just like look, look. Let me tell y'all something. Let me tell y'all something. um, yes, this is the philosophy of chilling, and I know that these are conversations that are prime examples of you take it and leave it how you may, because at the end of the day, we are still going to exist in what we know to be true and continue to exude the things that we are advocating in the microcosm of this conversation right now, because this is not everything. You think we getting deep? We ain't even getting deep enough. Like,
Right?
and honestly, truthfully, I already know we're gonna talk again. It's going to align.
Absolutely.
I just want, I guess, this conversation to highlight the person behind the knowledge
Mm,
and the intellect, because that's the aura I understand from you. And honestly, I'm so excited to see more of you, more of what you are going to do. And I know that when you said the statement of, I don't do this for money, I recognized that in you before you even had to say it,
mm,
because I recognize that part of myself within as well too. And I just want to say I greatly appreciate the fact that you chose to stay committed to the assignment and the understanding that was given.
mm.
I know it was difficult. And this is a form of my own appreciation, because hopefully this is happening at a moment that is validating your continuation. And not to say it wasn't already there, but just to say that this is another stamp of it. Like,
Yeah, I would agree with you. And I think I may have told you this. I had a very like low mental health moment not too long ago, maybe like
mm,
48, 72 hours ago. Like I was in psychosis. Like
that's real.
it was a whole thing.
Mhm.
And after that, I had to sit with, to your point, like the abundance and like the validation, like with that abundance and like understand like I needed to have that validation,
Yeah.
whether it's being here or, having opportunities to perform elsewhere or other platforms. And I want people to know that there's nothing wrong with desiring external validation. There's nothing wrong with it. In fact, we as social creatures, we need it. We need to
Mhm.
be around people that validate us and tell us how amazing we are, how beautiful we are, how
Mhm.
intelligent we are, all the things that make us us.
Yeah.
And not to say that we can't do it for ourselves or that it shouldn't come from an internal place, but just understanding what our needs are.
Yeah,
And that's our
that's
needs.
facts.
To a greater or lesser degree, we all crave validation at some extent. And I say that to say that, to your point, I wasn't choosing joy.
Mm.
And I was choosing the complete opposite of joy when I was going into that low mental health moment and like that psychosis, just mental and spiritual environment. But coming out of it, I was like, wow, it really like reconfirmed like we really do just get to choose joy for ourselves or the lack thereof every single moment of this life and
Mm.
all the lives we get to live. And to that point, the person behind the intellect, I wanted to shout out some organizations that are beyond myself
Mhm.
that people in this area may be able to be a part of or just get resources from. One of the ones that are near and dear to my heart is Love Essence Coalition,
Mhm.
Bambi,
Shout out.
started this coalition where it has different communal organizations and resources that people can use,
Mhm.
whether that be housing security, food security, and agriculture, other communal organizations in the
Mhm.
area that may be able to help with different things. So,
Mhm.
if you are a communal organization or if you're an individual that's looking for resources in the Atlanta or greater Atlanta area, go to Love Essence Coalition. So on Instagram, Mother's House is another one that I do want to shout out. They do some very beautiful work. They
Shout
feed
out.
families in the greater Atlanta area, and they are a hoodoo spiritual centered uh, queer place of healing, place of spiritual enlightenment, and it's the house of light and shadow. So if you go into that house, just know, the light may come out, but
It's gonna be there
that
too.
shadow may come out too. But for people that may be hearing about this, I hope you all tap in with these organizations. Because again, I don't do these things for me. I am a steward of Mother Nature. I'm a steward of non-men. I'm a steward of women. I'm a steward of all things queer and trans. And I'm a steward of us. Because at the end of the day, when we really get into nature, it is us and we are of
Mhm.
nature. And that's the problem. We got disconnected with nature and we got to get back to it
Yeah,
in all the forms.
yeah, and that's actually one of the points I was gonna say earlier too, because it's not the fact that people are not expected to evolve, especially in regards of what we've experienced thus far in the technological wave. It's more so about evolving without losing touch of the responsibilities that we have to this space.
Mm,
Utilizing these tools to steward that responsibility more effectively
I
so
agree.
that we can evolve without harming the very thing that gives us the fucking life that we need
Exactly.
to
And they
breathe.
miss that point so bad. Like you articulated that so well because it's true.
Thank
It's
you.
true. It's like, why are we using these things from nature against nature instead of with nature? To your point. And I think that, a lot of the,
Mismanaged.
emotional fluctuations we have as people and our egos and our trauma, I think that works in a similar way where it's like we allow these things that are part of us to
Mhm.
override who we are, then we're
Mhm.
not even serving ourselves, let alone our higher selves. And we're
Mhm.
also not serving mother
Yeah.
in that same sense. And to your point, you know what I mean? Like in that technological age, if we're using technology to help further nature in her mission, which is just to be, because all nature is life, death, rebirth. That's all it is. But
Facts.
it's the most beautiful thing ever because, we're in such a society where we fear death.
Yeah.
And the truth is, death is with us all the time.
All the
We
time.
dance with death every single day of our lives. Bell Hooks actually wrote about this in All About Love. She did a chapter on life, death, and spirituality. And it resonated with me so bad because to truly
Mhm.
live, we need to accept that death is right around the corner. But it's not
Yeah.
a scary thing. All death is transcendence or transference, if you will. And when we lean into that and we accept that, the more we could fully live with that acknowledgement that
Mhm.
this life, this plane, it's just temporary. And so are all the things that come with that. And
Yeah.
that's not to absorb it in a nihilistic type of sense where nothing
Mhm.
matters, but it is to say that everything matters because we're going to die. That's what gives it the meaning in the first place.
Yep. Oh, Jesus. Look, we can sit here and talk all day. I keep telling y'all that. But y'all have to go, regardless of the fact. So, with that being stated, we're going to transition into the last couple minutes of the interview. And what I like to do is pass the mic, honestly, over to you so that you can ask me any questions you would like to, whether it's pertaining to the topic of the conversation of the day, or anything outside of that. Um, yeah.
Okay. So because of the fact that this is a creative residency, I
Mhm,
thought that that was so cool when Enchantress was talking to me about that.
mhm.
What led you to getting this home? And then what also drives you to further your own mission that this home serves to purpose?
Thank you for that question. Uh, it actually touches a lot about what we've talked about already. Um, I am the oldest on my mom's side, so I've always been around responsibility
Mm,
and I've always been around structured communities that have been passed down from these more colonial entities. And there was a large portion of my life where I was consistently wearing a mask. But internally, I knew I was beyond that.
mm,
And because I am hyper aware of everything against me, I already was more comfortable with the concept of death because of what I knew to be true can also be viewed as threatening to the same entities that we are ushered in. So, with that, I made the plea to always have a connection to source and to spirit. And I basically laid my life out and I was like, look, you tell me where to go and I will do it. I will show up in these spaces in the ways that you call me to, regardless of whatever else is around or happening. And I was going through school because I'm good with the duality. I can exist in both spaces. But where God leads me is what starts creating the conflict. And God kept leading me around all these independents and all these creatives that were talented beyond degree, but because of what they were championing, I don't know, English, crazy, but they were individuals like yourself that understood past a larger degree of what was being conditioned. And it was like they're not protected. They don't have anywhere to go. Like, and they keep having to, especially if they have visions to be greater and to be not necessarily seen in an egotistical way, but just knowing that I'm not comfortable with only being in this small society when I know that my calling is telling me to go out and expand in a further degree. And it was like it kept fighting with me because I wanted to be able to support these individuals in a way where you can feel safe. But you can only do so much if you don't own the spaces that you are in, because you're
mm.
always going to be subjected to the person that is over it or owns it.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of these creative spaces where, shout out to my bros, but like, bruh, y'all mental capacity be just so tight and small. And you don't even have to talk for you to feel the uncomfortability as if it were palpable. Um, and it got to a point where it was just like, bruh, I can't keep going all over Georgia trying to meet people where they are, and I don't have even a space that I can get to or have that's centralized so that I can welcome y'all to. Like, I was still at my mom's house and I love my mom down. She does a lot for me, like sacrifices beyond degree. But she live in Fairburn, bro.
Mm,
I was going everywhere in Georgia. I needed something that allowed for there to be a home base, close, not necessarily in proximity, but 30 minutes, not directly in the city. And I can be able to provide a safe space so that somebody can create and then go out and do whatever they are supposed to. That was my focus. So when I got this property, it was never about the materialistics. The thing that registered to me was I just need a space that we ain't got to fight for parking. Ain't nobody got to worry about getting told. Ain't nobody got to worry about all the nitty gritty of the gate and da 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 da. No, I need enough space so people can actually be comfortable regardless of body type. Whatever you carry into this space, I wanted the environment to be welcoming. So I was just like, okay, I'm in a position to where I'm getting blessed on a more societal level, and I had an opportunity. And I was also doing the night shift of making sure the creatives and stuff were protected. And I was like, okay, well, it's time. It's time that because my mom's house is getting too small because I can't push upon my what I know to be true for my purpose and responsibility in this lifetime onto her and to her responsibilities and to her level of thinking when she's still growing in her own space and in her own right. And I don't want to create something that's uncomfortable for her. So it was like, bro, it's time. And that's kind of what led me to get it. And honest and truthfully, like what keeps me as far as trying to protect the mission that I see, it's really trying to be an example of a leader that is willing. I'm not gonna force it though. like I'm just not. That's not the vessel that I was given to do so. But I do steward this vessel appropriately so I am ready. So if that moment comes, I don't give a fuck who you are. You can be a 6'4", 350-pound nigga. You don't scare me, bro. You don't scare me. Like, let's talk about it. Because if anything, I look into your eyes. You the one that seems scared. And that's kind of why I do everything I do in general, because I don't feel like there's enough protection in that regard. And I still see the limitations on people mentally and soulfully. And it's like, yeah, we're evolving, but honestly, as humanity, we going a little slow, bro. Like we going a little slow.
A lot of it slow. A lot of it slow. And that's so beautiful. I think
Thank
that
you.
especially for someone that care so much about creativity, especially creativity detached from capitalism,
Mhm.
I think what you provide for people is like so, so important
Thank you.
because it's something I've seen as a limitation as well. Even in the third spaces that creatives are able to inhabit, you know, you have the paywall to get in the first place to even
Mhm.
perform. And it's like, why would you ever put a price tag on something that's infinite?
Mhm.
That's the problem. It's trying to contain what wasn't supposed to be contained in the first place.
Mhm.
So I say that all to say, I think what you're doing here is what I believe is the start of something that is revolutionary within the
Thank you.
city and like the greater Atlanta area. Because I was talking to Enchanters, I was like, I don't want people to do this. What's stopping them?
Hmm.
Will. And they're not willing. So to your point, you got to be the one that's willing. And I 100% agree. Because if you're not willing, then who will?
Yeah.
Who will?
Yeah. And honestly and truthfully, like that acknowledgement has been something keeps me that keeps me going, because even in my own like development, I'll say the phrase like, if I don't do it, who will? And it's not to say like people don't care to support me or something like that. But no, like literally what you understand, I cannot do your poetry. I can't do that. That is a talent and a responsibility for Jordan. So when I'm saying, oh, if I don't do it, nobody will, yeah, because you're not me.
Mm,
You're not me. So if I'm supposed to still exist here and I've still been given the ability and blessing to breathe, these are the things that are coming to my head for me to do. Now, I will accept help from you.
right.
I will do that.
Because we all need help.
We all need
But
help.
in terms of spiritual assignment, I was not meant to do your spiritual assignment and vice versa. And to your point,
Exactly.
that's just the truth. We
Mhm.
all have our own spiritual assignments and purposes. I think a lot of times we try to find purpose. It's like, no, we have purposes. We have much more than
Multiple.
one.
Multiple, yes.
And to your point, like it is our responsibility in a very spiritual, in tune with source aligned way that we steward that within our vessels and rather allow them to go through us. Because all we
Mhm.
are is a vessel and
Yeah.
a conduit and a means to the end. We're just the means. And
Yeah.
then whatever we produce or alchemize or create is that end. And, of course, the intentionality needs to be right. You mentioned capacity. That's a big point, too, the mental and spiritual capacity, how limiting that is for a lot of
Mhm.
people that may have the will. So I think you serve a very important pillar in community to give people a space and environment to truly tap in with to their actual capacity, to
Mhm.
truly tap into their actual will and their actual spiritual assignments and their actual creativity, which is infinite.
Mhm.
I think a lot of times we as creatives can limit ourselves of, oh, we have writer's block, oh, we can't create this. Can't.
Yeah,
Who
that's
can't?
not in the vocabulary.
Exactly. Who can't? We may be limited because of things out of our control, but can't?
Mhm.
I don't understand can't.
Yeah, that's facts. That's facts. Oh, I cannot wait until you come back.
I'm excited too. I think that, I'm very blessed to be here and I'm very grateful that I have a space to platform truth
Mhm.
because this whole conversation we've had, none of us has told a lie. It's
Yeah.
truth. So it's like when someone hears that, do you take in the truth or do you close your ears to it?
Ooh.
And that's my hope that people do the former, that people truly let it come in and
Mhm.
truly let it change them for the better. Because I think that, the conversations and the topics we've talked about here are things that could help someone truly transform their whole life,
Mhm.
but they have to be willing.
Yeah.
And I think that because of the fact that this gets to be documented, well, you have nothing but time now because you just come back to the video later and be like, oh, I'm not ready for it. Come back to it after. Oh, this makes sense now.
Yeah.
So that's my only hope that the people that are meant to hear it. But I do know that they are going to hear it. They absolutely are because we already set the intention behind it and we're
Yeah.
willing it now. So that's just going to transfer.
Well, I greatly appreciate you. Do you have any more questions for me before I pass it back to you?
I think that was my most pressing question. I think I
Okay.
have a lot more questions off camera
Oh yeah,
that
for
I'm
sure.
probably going to ask you. I have like, if I start asking you questions, it's going to be another hour.
I know. I know. It's okay though. It's okay though.
Okay.
Cause
Okay.
we gonna talk offline, obviously. But again, y'all have to go. So before we completely get up out of here, I want to pass it back to you so you can reintroduce yourself, let people know where to find you, where to get in contact with you, or if there's anything coming up that you about to release, shit, let them know too.
So yeah, for people that do and don't know me, my name is A Joy's Being. I go by all pronouns, expressions, and genders, regardless of what you're seeing. I'm a creative jack of all trades, but I find poetry to be most freeing. And so, with that being said, you can find me at A Joyous Being on all platforms. The letter A, JOYOUSBEING. And in terms of what's coming up, I'll be performing at Who Wanna Pho this Wednesday. It's a free open mic third space that's over in Little Five Points. I'll also be doing a interview on the Spotlight Poetry June 27th. So y'all be able to see that as well. And I'll also be performing at you all's open mic as well, the Voyage in Pleasure.
Voyage of pleasure.
Voyage of
Oh,
Pleasure, excuse
dope.
me.
You locked in?
I'm locked in because
Say
I got an opportunity
less.
from Snapco Freedom to like go to Virginia for a pageant, and they were like, "Oh, everything's paid for," but then they made me pay for. They were going to make me pay for my ticket. I'm not paying $75 for a ticket. I
Mm,
don't care if y'all have everything else included. If you're going to take care of me, take care of me. You know what I'm
that's
saying?
real.
But I say that all to say, those are what I know of that are coming up. I probably have more things that are coming up that like I forgot about. Sorry, y'all. But it's gonna be
It
my
be like that.
Instagram. It's gonna be on my media, so you can find me.
Mhm.
And other than that, like I said, tap in with Mother's House, tap in with Love Essence Coalition, tap in with the Velocity of Chillin. I was kind of stalking your page prior to even accepting. I was like, oh, this is like actually really fucking cool. I have
Oh,
not heard
thank
about this
you.
before. So please, y'all, please like spread the word about this because if we don't talk about us, who is?
That's real.
And I'm also in a feminist observatory of literature and Afrofutures. So it
Mm.
is a
Ooh, that sound good.
intersectional um, Afrofeminist collective of non-men and women that are creating literature for our collective liberation. So you're going to be seeing some writing from me soon with that.
That is
So
so
stay tuned.
exciting. Oh my gosh. Yeah, you know what? We're gonna talk more when we get off this couch and we turn off this camera. Um, and that was an amazing outro. Like, you ate that shit for
Thank
sure.
you. Oh, one thing I do want to tell people
Uh-huh.
too, ask yourself what you're doing for our collective universal liberation. Ask yourself that each and every day that you exist, whether that's just existing, whether that's unsubscribing from Spotify or Netflix, whether that's starting your own personal garden. Doesn't really take that much effort. But if you're not doing something towards our universal collective liberation, you're doing something in the direction of our destruction. There's no gray area when it comes to this fight. You're either on our side or you're against us. So pick your side wisely because we're on the winning side.
That's real.
Hey,
So with that being said, y'all got to go, and we do too. So we out of here. Peace.